and cool. And once they have cooled enough that you can touch them, you want to just do your best to peel off the outside skin. You might not give it all, that's fine. And then you're going to want to chop up, de-seed and devein the jalapenos and chop those up. I got them in a nice little bowl here, nice, some roasted jalapenos. And then I just smashed the garlic, right? It's roasted, it's super soft. I just smashed it, kind of chopped it a little, put that in the bowl, and we're ready to go. So now we're just ready to assemble and just put it in the oven to heat it up. So what I have first here is our bowl of plain yogurt, right? Don't get vanilla, that's weird. Plain yogurt. We have whole milk yogurt. You can get any fat level that you want. But this one is whole milk yogurt. It's a dip. You're not going to eat large quantities of it. This is going to give it a much better mouthfeel if it does contain some fat in it. So whole milk yogurt right there. And then we're just going to start adding everything in. So I've got my spices first. I've got some, what do I have here? Onion powder. I've got some salt, some smoked paprika. If you don't have smoked, you can use regular paprika, but smoked paprika has that extra little oomph to it to kind of help give a smokiness to the whole dip. So we're just going to put that in here. And then we do have to go ahead and put in our jalapenos. So we're going to get that going in here as well. That was kind of a fun. I'd never roasted jalapenos before. I just didn't because I didn't want to, but it was actually pretty easy. It wasn't really that hard. And then we've got our roasted garlic. So we've got all of that going in here, and then we're just going to go ahead and stir this together, right? So once you've got the jalapenos and the garlic ready to go, it really doesn't take that much work. That's the part that takes, I would say, a little bit more of the time and effort with this guy. So once you get this all nice and stirred together, they're all, happily swimming together evenly here, or at least fairly evenly. Then we're going to prepare the top. What do we got here for the top? So we've used these before, but it's been a while. These are ground pork rinds. PORQ is the name brand for these. You can get them plain, which is what we have. They also have some sweetened versions, one with Italian seasoning and one with like a sweet and smoky. So you can find those. We got through Walmart. This one they didn't have in stock just now, but it came to my door, and so it was all fine. So I've got this guy. This will kind of give like a crunchy kind of top to this. And then we're just going to put a little bit of oil in there, just kind of like you would maybe with some breadcrumbs. And then we're just going to go ahead and toss this guy together. Just kind of get the oil stirred in a little bit and just evenly throughout our pork rinds. Okay, so we got our cute festive red container, whatever you want, doesn't matter. I just happen to have a red bread dish, so I'm using it. There it is, bada bing, bada boom. So we'll put our dip in the bottom, all that good flavor right there. I'm just gonna spread it out. It's kind of evenly, right? Doesn't have to be super, super perfect or anything like that. But we're going to just get that in there. And then we got to have some cheese. Well, more cheese, right? Got to have some cheese in here. A little more dairy. So I've got regular cheddar, sharp cheddar. Either is fine. I think this recipe calls for some sharp cheddar. It's just going to give it some more flavor. So, whatever you have is fine, but the sharp cheddar is nicer. So either way, this will add at least a little bit of more protein, right, into our Greek yogurt. And then we're just going to go ahead and sprinkle or spread these pork rinds around over the top. Do your best to spread them evenly. Again, not a huge deal. This is a dip, right? It's going to be pretty forgiving, so we don't have to worry too much or get too stressed about it. Not a big deal at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in the oven about 10 minutes or so. We're not really cooking anything. We're just trying to warm it up really well. So if you need more than 10 minutes for the container that you have, that's totally fine. But that's kind of the ballpark that you're going for. And then after you pull it out, you're going to take the other half of the leftover jalapeno that you didn't roast, slice that up, and use that as a garnish on top. And boom, you are there. Now, what we already made ahead of class today are the crackers that are going to go with this recipe. So while that's sitting in the oven, I'm just going to describe to you these really awesome crackers. I mean, Amber and I kind of had a hard time not eating too many in order to save enough to show you guys in class today. They're just really good. They're like Cheez-Its, but better. That to me is what they taste like. So this one takes a little bit more work, something you probably want to do ahead of time, earlier in the day before, something like that. You can even actually make them several days before, a week or two, and freeze them if you want to. So they're going to stay fine when you do that, but it does take a little bit of work. And I would say, if you've seen any of us do like the fathead dough in this class before, there's going to be some similar kind of vibes with that, and that we were going to melt cheese in a bowl. So we've got our 6 ounces or about 1.5 cups of some cheddar cheese, and you are going to melt that in the microwave, not long increments, 30 seconds or so at a time. Stir, 30 seconds, kind of stir, just kind of good and melty is what you're going for there. And then you're just going to go ahead and basically add all of the rest of the ingredients, except for the butter that we're going to brush on top and some sprinkling salt. But we've got the flour, we've got some salt, garlic flour, red pepper flakes if you want. You don't have to put those in there. And then an egg. And you're really going to have to work that together. You might have to use the spatula for a while, or if you want to get in there with your hands and really kind of get it all put together, then you kind of have a nice even dough. And then what you're going to want to do is spread that out on some parchment paper or a silicone mat that has a little bit of the almond flour sprinkled on top. So you're going to kind of coat that with some of your almond flour, and then spread it out, put another parchment paper on top, roll it out really, really thin. When we made these the first time, I inverted a baking sheet so that I had a totally flat surface, but it kind of slides around a little bit. It was a little hard to keep up with and not lose over the edge. So what I would do probably just in the future and beyond is I would just have my parchment or my silicone just on a flat surface, put it all together, roll it out really thin, take my pizza cutter, score it into my little squares, and then just slide it over onto a baking sheet that's right side up, and then put it in the oven. That way you have the edges to kind of make sure it doesn't slide around. And then it's going to go in the oven for a little while. And again, it's going to vary a little bit depending on how thin you made these. And you do want to try and be mindful of making the center as thin as the outsides. So just something to think about. But we had them in there for about a half an hour and then turned the oven off and let them sit in there for a little while longer, just to kind of continually to bake and dry and brown just a little bit. So you want to keep an eye on them at that point. But then just take them out and let them cool, and then they'll just break up into their little pieces. It's all going to be scored, so even if they're still kind of connected, they're going to break up really easily. And boom, Cheez-Its. So that is what's going to be a great addition right here. Hold on, let me get my go-go gadget arm. There we go. They're really good. You're going to love them. I was excited. I ate a couple before class. I'm like, no, you got to stop. You can't. So really, really good. Something I think you'll really, really enjoy. A little bit healthier than standard crackers that you're going to buy at a store. Okay, so that's our dip. That'll come out of here in a few minutes. We got our crackers going, and I think it's time to take a commercial break and move on to the next recipe. So I'm going to throw it to Amber and get ready for the next round.
All right, Jennifer, thank you so much. And yes, we are taking a break. We had a couple questions in the chat that we're going to talk about during the break. But before we do that, since Jen's getting ready, let's talk about next month. Okay, it's an exciting month for July cooking class. July 17th, we do beat the heat. So we actually don't cook. There might be something that we have to heat up on the oven like super quick or microwave, but basically we try to not heat up the house. So we try to do everything cold, which is kind of interesting, right? Just kind of nice. It's just usually super, super hot that time of year. So we decided one year we did it August, and we realized that's when the garden is going crazy. So we flipped them. So August is garden fresh goodies. But July 17th from 11 to 12. And someone asked about recording, funny enough, today. and I started it late. So when you watch the recording, it'll be Jen talking and I didn't, my intro wasn't on there, but that's okay. I wasn't saying anything important, so it's fine. Let's see. As far as the questions, someone had a question about hair loss. Let me go up here. So Jessica said, Jessica, it really depends on how far out you are, but typically hair loss is just something that happens. So pretty much it happens to everyone. It's just a matter of the degree that it happens. And typically it has to do with not getting enough protein that makes it worse than if you get enough protein, right? So it might just be that you're a little bit under the protein that your body needs. We give you the recommendation based off charts, but typically that could be it. And it also is, people find some success adding a hair, skin, and nail vitamin, but and then also the elephant in the room that people really don't ever think about is your stress level and what's going on in your life too, that adds to it. The surgery itself is a stress to your body, and then the rapid weight loss, and those two combined cause the hair loss typically. So not a ton you can do about it. It's great at summer, so you can wear your hair up, you can put it in a hat, things like that. Typically the worst is like right before 6 months. That's just typical, but sometimes it varies. Doesn't usually go much past 6 months, but anyway, so let's see. I think you typed something. February 2nd, so about 6 months. Yep, that's about what it is. And then the other person, Amy, said, would love to know hunger curbing tips late at night. Yeah. Boy, that is the question of the hour for a lot of us that struggle with that. The typical thing that we tell people, and Amy, I don't know if you're post-op or pre-op, but typically what happens is you really need to boost your protein because it fills you up. It makes you less hungry later on. And then come up with, we do have some high protein snacks. So we do recommend that people, if you're going to have something late at night, you just absolutely are so hungry, to have something that has a little bit of carb, but also protein, and just not going for the sugar. That's kind of the biggest thing, which is typically when we all crave sugar. Let's see. You answered me, I think. What is the recommended pre-surgery? Okay, yeah. It also is really hard because currently you have this regular size stomach. And so then you're still going to have that same food noise, the same cravings that you won't necessarily have after having surgery, at least not in the first year. Kind of wakes up a little bit after that, but it is common. And what we find is that you really need to protein pace, which is having high protein at every meal and every snack. And that really does help quiet a lot of that late evening food noise. Since you're pre-surgery, I know a lot of people, like if they're hungry, they might have like a sparkling water, kind of makes you feel like you're having something, kind of fills up your stomach, but it's just water. And it's like the bubbles after surgery. Of course, you can't have the bubbles. So hopefully that's helpful. We will talk about a gluten-free alternative to the almond flour and the cracker on the next break. So, all right, I'm going to hand it on back over to Jen so we can get this class done on time, right?
Yeah, let's rock and roll, right? Let's keep this party going. So we've got our dip and our crackers. That's our appetizer. Now we got to start working on a little bit more meal type items. So we're going to have a salad. And what says summer, but some kind of cold potato salad, but it's not going to have potatoes. So hang with me. I know I just like dangled a carrot. It's going to be more of, it's our all-American salad, but it's kind of like a faux potato salad because the ingredient that's going to make this still low carb, still have the fiber and a lot of the good nutrients is not just cauliflower, but roasted cauliflower. Can you just steam or boil or whatever some cauliflower? You sure can, and that would work in here. But the roasting just brings in another layer of flavor that I think you'll really appreciate. And so it's just one head of cauliflower chopped up into bite-sized pieces, oil and salt, spread it on a baking sheet, parchment paper or something underneath to keep the mess down. in the oven. I'd say 400 to 450 until it's starting to brown. So it's going to start to look kind of like that. You can kind of see it. Yes. So you're starting to get some brown, not a lot, but you're starting to get some browning on them. And that's going to give you just a really nice, deep, little bit caramelized, richer flavor for your salad, right? So for your all-American salad. So in goes the cauliflower. And then we got a few other ingredients that are really going to help. Some hard-boiled egg. So we got 2 hard-boiled eggs here that are going to go in. That's really going to help add some nice texture and flavor. I kind of like it when there's hard-boiled egg and any kind of potato-ish style salad, because I think it just makes it taste better. Eggs are just better. So we've got just a couple eggs in there, nothing too crazy. But we do have some celery and some green onion going in here as well. This will give it some crunch, some bulk. And so we're going to get that going in here as well, right? We're doing some different plants. We're usually talking about plants. We talk about protein all the time, but we like to talk about plants too. So we're going to get a little bit of plant matter going on here. And then just a little bit of bacon, like a couple slices worth of some chopped bacon, just getting some flavor over the entirety of the salad. So we're going to add that in there as well. And just kind of get that stirred up and all together. And my timer is going off for our dip. So there it is, right? Kind of, there you can kind of see it. There we go. So I'm gonna let this cool over here a little bit before we would start dipping into that. So we'll let that sit to the side and hang out. All right. So we've got our chunky stuff in there. So we do have some mayonnaise. We're going to put some mayonnaise in here, just about a 1/2 cup. So nothing too crazy. And a little bit of Dijon for flavor. So this is going to add just a couple tablespoons, but the Dijon just adds a lot of flavor to it. So I really like that addition. A little bit of lemon juice. That's going to brighten it up. Could you leave it out? You could. Are you going to miss something? You are. So a little bit of citrus just really brightens up a dish. Doesn't take a lot, but it really, really does seem to make a difference. And in something like this, I think you're going to really appreciate that. And then, of course, we need our seasonings. So a little bit of salt and pepper, and then a little bit more paprika, regular or smoked, whatever you prefer. I'm kind of a fan of smoked whenever a recipe calls for paprika. I just think the smoked is better. It's just my preference. You do you. Totally fine. So we've got that going in there. And we're just going to stir this up. So this is one of those ones, of course, that you can do ahead of time. You know, you can hard-boil eggs ahead of time. You can roast the cauliflower. I mean, you can just put this whole thing together. Actually, I think these kind of things taste better if they've had a little bit of time to sit together. So if you can make this day before or at least morning of, I think it's actually going to come out better that way. But, you know, do what you got to do. Red festive bowl, okay, 4th of July, got our red festive bowl. So we're just going to put it in here. Now, if you are feeding more people, if you're taking it to an event or something, you may want to double this, as I'll show you here what it looks like in just a second. So, you know, this is made for, you know, not a huge crowd as is, because a lot of times our patients aren't serving a huge crowd, right? Like maybe just a handful or just you and one other person. So we try to be mindful of that. And just to make it kind of fun and cool looking, we've got another egg here on the side, sliced. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to kind of fan that across. Oh, thank you. And some paprika magically appeared next to me. Don't you just love it how things just magically happen for you? And to garnish, a little bit of that paprika on top, right? Yes. Okay. All right, ta-da. So, by the way, just extra tidbit, if you don't have a slicer in your kitchen, one of those little slicers where you can slice the eggs or the mushrooms or the strawberries or whatever, they're really handy. Of course, you just use a knife, that's what you got. But I find I use my slicer pretty often. Okay, can you kind of see? You kind of can. So the white over here is where the hard-boiled egg is sitting that you can't see because the lights just blind everything out. But you can kind of see. There we go. So Okay, salad done. Boom. So we've got our side done. We're going to take another commercial break, and then we're going to move on to our protein that's going to go with the meal for today. So I'll check you in a minute. Sending it to Amber.
Everyone. Okay, I'm back. Yes, I know. The magic flying seasoning. We put everything away. We were just too efficient cleaning up. And then I looked at the picture. I was like, uh-oh, we don't have the paprika. Okay, so the extra question was about a gluten-free. That's the trick with the crackers. To make them low carb, the almond is just mostly fat, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, but it is pretty low carb. And so having a substitute is tricky. There is, if you go online, there's like keto flours or that have like sunflower seed flour with a little flaxseed and a little coconut. If you switch to just straight coconut, you'll have to increase the moisture because it just sucks up the moisture. So there are some alternatives for sure. Or you could just, eat less of them and use your regular flour. I think the person that asked was pre-surgery, but they're really great crackers. So any kind of alternative that you can find that's also low carb can just slide right in there. And then let's see, we were talking about keeping the cravings at night. It's hard. I understand all that struggle as well. So the next thing I wanted to announce is next month what we're going to be focusing on in healthy living is the gut and really building that gut microbiome. And the really biggest key in all of it is it's not just what we eat, right? It's stress and sleep. And there's a lot of things that impact it, and exercise. But man, do we not get enough fiber in our life? So we're going to be focusing on fiber. And I counted up all the fiber in our recipes today. If we were to eat everything, if we were to sit down and have the chicken and the all-American salad and some dip and crackers and the piece of cake, it would only be 8 grams of fiber, which is kind of low, but it's not terrible. We need about 25 a day as women, 25 grams. But, post-surgical, that is a challenge. So we have different tools and things that we can use. I know we've had classes where we've done a chia pudding. I mean, chia seeds are amazing. They have a ton of fiber in them, but they're not everybody loves chia seeds. So we have to come up with alternatives, but more fruits, more vegetables is always great. In fact, in our last recipe, one of the best fruits you can have for fiber is the berries. And so next month, our healthy living, which is my class that I'm teaching, is all about gut health, and it's July 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. So 4 Tuesdays from 11:30 to 12. And those are recorded already on YouTube. So that's my first year teaching it. So they're very short actually, because I leave time for questions during the class. And so all the YouTube is just the content. So if you go to our YouTube channel, which I'll show you at the end of class, or one of our next breaks on how to get there, you can see all of our cooking class. Someone asked about those. If you're ever interested in other classes and you see one on there, you're like, "Ooh, I want the recipes for that." You just have to send us a message or call the office and we can get that for you. So yeah, I'll give you our email address for that type of thing, just because we need, sometimes if you aren't seeing something on your My Chart, then you can just send us an email at bariatricsupport@slhs.org. And that's where you can sign up for classes too. If you don't have the QR code to sign up, you can just email that email and we'll get you signed up for those classes. Yes, we did record. I don't know if it's posted last month. I think so. I think May is up there. I'll have to check when Jen's in charge. I'll check and see if it's up there. But it was a great Asian inspired. That one was good. I mean, like I said, I've sound so redundant. They're all really good. So, and some are faster than others. I know some take a little more prep, and I love the classes when we do the fast things, because people always say, I don't have enough time to cook. I don't have enough time to cook. And I'm like, oh, I have a class for you. And I think that was March this year. We did like 15-minute dinners. They were quick. All right. I think she's ready She's standing in her spot. We have signals. I'm going to switch it on over to Jen. Oh, and then someone asked, how many grams of protein, fat, carbs should we stay in during pre and post? That is a great question, but multifaceted.
Yeah, big question, big answer. Not the same exactly for everyone, but we can give some ballparks on that. I'll let Amber do that as well during the next commercial break. But we are here to move on to the next piece of our recipe deck for today, which is the protein part, right? Every time we have like holiday barbecue-ish, that kind of stuff, there's usually some kind of protein involved. And so what we have here is some bright and smoky Independence chicken. So what I've got here are some chicken thighs, and these have been marinating in a marinade. Right, so I put together the marinade from the recipe. It's several different ingredients. We got some lime zest, got some lime juice. We got a little bit of olive oil, some sugar-free honey. If you don't have it, you can use regular, but if you want to really just be mindful of that, you can buy sugar-free honey to at least get that honey kind of flavor there. And then 1 medium chipotle pepper in adobo sauce. So those little cans that you can get the little peppers out of. And I don't know, some of you might go through those a little bit more often, but I got a great tip from Amber, which was use what you need out of the can and then put them on a sheet with some wax paper and just individually freeze them. The rest of the peppers that are in the can, and then you can bag them up when they're all frozen. And then when you need one for a future recipe, you have them, right? And you're not like pulling 2 out of the can and then chucking the rest of the can because you didn't use it up, which is sometimes what I do with those. So that works really well because there is a sauce that Amber and I make sometimes at home. I can't remember exactly what it was for.
Chipotle mayo.
Oh yeah, it was a chipotle mayo, and so you need those peppers. So that way I always have some on hand because they're in my freezer. I just need to pull one of them out ahead of time so it has thaw because we blend it all together. All right, I'll stop talking about that, but save your peppers, okay? Save your chipotle peppers. And then there was some garlic and a little bit of cumin that went in, and all went into the blender. I just blended the dickens out of it. And then you can put your chicken in a dish and pour it over. I put it in a bag because then I could kind of squish it and make sure that the marinade was all over all of the chicken. You do want to reserve a little bit of that marinade to brush a little bit on at the end. So I've got my bowl here with just a little bit of leftover marinade that I reserved to use at the end. So basically then you just want to make sure you get the chicken in at least an hour ahead of time. Several hours is going to be better. I wouldn't go too far into the future. When you put meat into a marinade and you let it sit there for like 24 hours or more, you get some pretty weird breakdown of the texture of the meat and gets kind of, I don't know, mushy, I think would be a good way to describe it. So 1 hour at least to a few hours. So maybe earlier in the day or by midday if you're planning on cooking them around the dinner time. So I've got my chickens. They've been sitting in here just bathing in marinade, having a delightful time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pan fry these because we don't have a grill in here. However, if I was at home, I'd be probably putting them on the grill or on my smoker and doing it that way. Just going to get a lot of good flavor that way. But this is a good way to do it if you don't have any of those tools. And so, this is just going to be one of those situations where you're just, a few minutes on each side, make sure that it temps to 165 degrees, and then you can kind of go from there. But like I said, you're going to get, I think, better flavor, and of course the cool grill marks if you're going to put it on your gas grill, or if you're going to put it on your charcoal grill, and then of course your smoker is going to do really well there. I think you could definitely do something like this in your air fryer as well. So if you wanted to give that a shot, you could certainly do that. Clearly the timing will be a little bit different. So if you've done chicken in your air fryer before, that will give you an idea of how much time you need to get that chicken good and done. But with this guy, it's just pretty easy. It's pretty simple. I think for barbecues, something kind of like that is a good way to go, where you can just put the meat into some marinade and let the marinade do the flavor work for you ahead of time. And then all you got to do is schlep it onto your cooking platform in order to get it all good and ready to go. Could you do chicken breasts? You could. Chicken breasts are just going to dry out a little bit faster. The marinade will help with that. But the chicken thighs just tend to keep a moisture that the chicken breast just can't. And are they a little bit higher in fat? Yes, they are a little bit, but it's not a significant amount. And the protein actually is pretty close to the same amount, whether you're looking at thighs or breasts. So either way is fine. It's really up to you. A lot of our patients find that they handle the chicken thighs better because they just have that little bit of a higher fat level, and therefore they stay more moist and more tender. So if you have had surgery, you know what I'm talking about. Dry is really rough to get down. It just kind of sticks all the way down. It's very difficult to get in. It kind of sits heavy. Sometimes people get the foamies with the dry stuff. So for any of you who have not had surgery, then that's just kind of a helpful tidbit to keep in mind is moisture is really going to be your friend. I have heard that so many times over that dry food is just really difficult. Moisture becomes really, really important. And so I think it's helpful to keep in mind that other people in your household may have no problem eating said food, and that, in fact, they'll probably say, it's great, like it's totally moist, no problem. But for you, just because you're more sensitive, you're a little more delicate, you are not going to handle the same moisture level as they will. So totally fine. You have your needs, they have theirs. But I've just found that a lot of patients do really, really well with the thighs instead of the breasts or the drumstick. So we're getting close to the end here. I'm going to let these finish off in the pan, and that's it. Cook them to 165 and then plate them and off you go. That's all we got. Amber, bada bing, bada boom. Shh, done. My job is really easy today. This is like fantastic for me. I'm gonna send it back to Amber, let her do some work. Maybe she can slide me another bottle of some kind of spice on the side. Something we forgot. Okay, I'll send it back to Amber, commercial break. When these are done, I'll plate them. I'll brush them with the marinade, and then they'll have that little extra added level of flavor, and they'll be good to go. All right, you guys. Seeing if you were coming back for dessert next.
Okay, Amy, I missed the joke. Were you talking about DoorDash? Yeah. Oh, she said, they'll tell me that, and then I'm answering the door for a DoorDash delivery from one of them. LOL. I missed something. I know. Well, someone laughed, so they obviously knew what she was talking about. I love it. I love it. It's all good. Okay, so I have a little bit of fun facts for you all. Those of you coffee drinkers who like to drink coffee, and then Amy can tell me, oh, listen, yep, they'll tell me they'll try my recipes, new diet, and then, oh, I get it. Oh, okay. Maybe you're talking about your family. Yes, that's what it sounds like. They'll tell me they'll try my recipes, and then they'll go order all the stuff I can't have. Oh, that's not fair. That's cheap. I don't like that. Okay, and it's not cheap. I know it's expensive. So I had a patient once, just really stalling out, and she loved coffee creamer, right? She tried the sugar-free, didn't like it. And so she's like, yeah, but you look at the regular creamer, and it's only 4 grams of sugar in a serving of regular creamer, right? And you're like, oh, 4 grams of sugar, that's nothing, right? And then check out the serving size. I think it's like a teaspoon. It's insane. It's really small. It might be a tablespoon, but I did a little experiment in my coffee, and I probably have, because I drink a lot, mostly decaf, measured my half and half to see how much was in my coffee until it's the color that I like. Because everyone has a different thing. Some people drink black. I have to have mine like a little bit like creamy looking. So I measured it. It's a tablespoon in every cup I have. So if I have 4 cups a day, that's 4 tablespoons. The craziest thing is she found out she was getting over 300 calories a day from her creamer. So I know I'm not asking you to measure every day. I'm not asking you to measure everything, weigh everything, but at least once, kind of eye-opening. It was a little eye-opening for me because they changed the serving size on some of those things to make them more sellable, make them more desirable. And what I found with that patient is we switched her to regular half and half, and she adds stevia to her coffee because she wants the sweet. And it was a great substitute. And that's a swap. That's a swap out. Okay, someone sent me a message that I don't think is on the chat. I got to see. I think it's an employee. Oh, crap. Let me see really quick. Hang on just a second. I got a message. Oh, yeah, I will answer that. Let's see. Someone had some technical issues. Let's see. Amy said, my son got a free pizza one time because they were sending it to do a well check. And since it's been 4 weeks, he lives with his parents. He's fine. He spent his money elsewhere. Oh, that's funny. Yes. Okay, let me go back. Sorry, I got a little distracted from something else, and now I don't know where I am. Did I exit the class? No, I didn't. I thought I exited the class. Okay, so back to, since this is our almost our last break, I'm going to show you all where the YouTube channel, what it looks like if you go to St. Luke's YouTube. I thought that'd be kind of a good time. Besides the measuring, like measure your creamer. If you're a creamer person, you will be blown away. Yeah. So, and tracking is a great way to check in too. If you just feel like you're kind of like lost or you're stalled, or some of you are pre-surgical and you want to, keep losing weight before surgery, tracking is amazing, especially if you're doing it accurately, right? I know we can put in whatever we want in those programs. I realize that. I'm not naive to that fact, but when you sit there with like a measuring cup and you're like, oh wait, wow, that's a lot of creamer. So anyway, but the YouTube channel, you can go to St. Luke's Health System and make sure it's the right St. Luke's, because there's several on there. And then you click on the playlist. And once you're on the playlist, you will see Jen there in the little thumbnail, number 2, and it will say Bariatric Nutrition. You can click on View Playlist. Under that, it'll say Bariatric Nutrition and Behavioral Health. We do have some grounding, breathing, and things like that from our behavioral health specialist. So it's quite insightful, but you'll see 3 years of cooking classes, basically. And you'll also see our Bariatric Healthy Living, some recorded videos on there. You will see Starting Strong. There's a Starting Strong video in there from way back when you started your process. You want to rewatch it. It's a lot shorter because Jen just recorded, the good stuff. And then let's see, that's where this class will show up within a week. Usually a week. I don't want to say that because sometimes our tech guy isn't available. So I don't want to, it'll be there for sure within 2 weeks. But a week is usually what it is. Sometimes we can have it done in a couple of days. But yeah, let's see any other questions that were brought up. Let me just go up here because I got kind of lost in the chat. Someone said, oh, creamer. Yes, that's what I was doing when I was out of my half and half for a while. Alicia, I would take the Nuri and I would use it as my creamer. That works really good. That makes it really tasty, actually. That's a great way to double do, right? Get your protein and it's creamy for your coffee. So. Did someone turn their mic off? Did you have a question? Nope. Tiffany didn't have a question. Okay, she turned off her mic. All right. Any questions while we're waiting for Jen? She's getting set up. She's about ready. Okay. I was also going to say on our website, if you type into the Google St. Luke's Bariatric Nutrition and you go to the bottom of the page, you'll see a picture of Jen and I, me heavily airbrushed, which is hilarious. I don't know why the photographer does that, but whatever. At the bottom is all of the list of our classes, because we do encourage people, even after you've had surgery, to stay connected with us. Someone had a great question. Let's see, half and half or whole milk, which is better? Oh, if you like whole milk, just do whole milk. That's fine. What half and half is, it's literally half milk, half cream. So I make mine lactose free. I take lactose free milk and cream, heavy whipping cream, because heavy whipping cream doesn't have a ton of lactose, and I mix them in like a bottle, half and half. I make my own, but that's because I'm lactose intolerant. So if you like whole milk, great. All right, I'm sending on over to Jen.
All right, people, it's dessert time. We are here at the last recipe. Woo woo! You're gonna look like a rock star if you bring this guy. So we've got our cake, our American Star Spangled Cake. And just to kind of let you know ahead of time, obviously we pre-baked the cake and it's cooled and everything so we can decorate it for you. But it is a little different than how you might standardly put cake batter together. So this has the almond flour because we're trying to kind of alternate, you know, and get away from the regular flour. So the almond flour will have a little bit more fiber and protein in it. So we do like to use that. So we've got some almond flour in here, and then oat fiber or psyllium husk. So this is going to provide, I'm going to say, a little bit of chewiness, a little bit of fiber, you know, kind of lighten it up a little bit. And so that's going to be a good addition. You can get oat fiber. Usually online is where you're going to get that. We already had psyllium husk because we've used it in other recipes, and we use it ourselves just to kind of add fiber to our own diets. The amount is not the same. So we did put that you have two different amounts for those ingredients, depending on which one you choose to use. So make sure you pay attention to that, because the psyllium husk absorbs a ton of liquid, whereas the oat fiber is not going to have the same absorbency. So the psyllium husk is a much smaller amount. That's why you'll see that difference there. Three eggs divided, keep the white and the yolk. And what you're going to do is whip that white, and then we're going to fold it in to kind of give some of that leavening action that you're looking for. But you are going to keep the yolks, and you are going to blend those up, and you're going to add them into some of the other ingredients that we have in here. Like we have some sour cream, of course, our sugar substitute confectioner, so the powdered, some baking powder, and then of course the vanilla. And so you just want to make sure you kind of follow through those steps. You're stirring in or kind of folding in the egg whites. They're a little bit more forgiving with this recipe, so you do want to kind of be careful when you stir them in, but you don't have to be really, really careful like you might have in other recipes where you had to very gently fold in the egg whites. But that's how we get kind of a nice lighter product at the end with a lot of good moisture with the sour cream and such going into all of that. So Amber did a fantastic job putting that guy together for you. Kind of like that. You can see it? Yeah, okay. So fully done. Lightly browned, totally cooled. So make sure it's got probably a good hour at least to cool down fully, or when you put your frosting on top, it's just gonna like melt down the sides. So we want to keep our frosting to have its structure to it. And this is a bit of a cream cheese frosting, but a little bit different again than what you might have done in the past with a standard cream cheese frosting. So it does have some cream cheese. So yes, we've got that going in here, 2/3 of a cup of some cream cheese. Thank you very much. But the secret ingredient that's going in here is some mascarpone cheese. Mascarpone, that is similar, I guess I would say, to cream cheese, except it's a little bit lighter. It feels like it's got a little bit more of a whipped texture to it, and it's slightly sweet. So really, really slightly. And so you're going to get a nice, lighter, slightly sweet element to this with the mascarpone cheese. It's the same kind of cheese they'll use in like tiramisu and some of those kind of things. Mascarpone. You know, the first time I heard that, I was like, man, I don't know if I can remember that name. So I was like, it's the Al Capone cheese. That's what it is. That was my way of remembering mascarpone, which is silly, but that's how my brain works sometimes. So we've got our two cheeses in there, and we're just going to just kind of whip those up. Come here, you. Just going to kind of whip those up together. Just kind of get them blended. There we go. Just for a second. And then we're going to kind of do our standard additions that we would with a frosting, a cream cheese kind of frosting, which is going to be confectioner's powdered sugar substitute. So the confectioner's sugar substitute, I think we used Swerve as the brand we use, but powdered sugar substitute is fine. So we're going to put that in here, and then of course, get in there. Waste not, want not. That's what we want. We're going to have our heavy cream that's going to provide, again, a little bit of lightness, especially when you whip it. Then, of course, thin it down a little bit. So it's got a spreadable consistency. So we've got, I don't know what, how much? A 1/3 cup of some cream. If it's too thick, you can always just add a little bit more to get it to more of a spreadable consistency. And then you should be good to go with that. And then, of course, a little bit of flavor with our vanilla. So we got to get that in there as well. And then you're just going to whip this together. My tether is just a little too short. There we go. Whip it well. And I would say whenever you're whipping cream cheese, and in this case, the cream cheese and the mascarpone, just make sure you get it broken up really well before you add in the whipping cream and these other ingredients, because if you don't, it tends to be a little bit chunky and it takes longer to get it smooth. So just kind of a little tidbit, you do want to blend those two and really kind of whip them together well before you add the rest of the ingredients. You can still get there, it then just takes a little bit more work and time. So, not a huge deal, but I think we got it. Yes. Okay, there's our frosting. I'm gonna taste it real quick because I can. Oh yeah. So that's good. So really nice and light, lightly sweet. So it's not super, super sweet. So we're going to decorate our cake. I mean, it's going to be a flag cake, right? It's patriotic. We're going to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to spread my frosting over the top and get a good even smear. And as they say, crust to crust is a must. Okay, get all the way to the edges. Don't cheat. Don't just plop it in the middle, all the way around. Plus, we're making a flag out of this, so we want to make sure we have full coverage with this guy. And this is definitely thin enough for me. Like, this is spreading just fine. So we'll get a little bit more in here. I'm going to get it all in. Yes. And then, of course, we're going to do the standard strawberries and blueberries, right? Yeah, we're going to do it. It's just an easy way to get that patriotic look. And then we're adding a little bit of fiber. It's not a ton because it's really just decoration on top, but everything adds up, right? So even if you think, oh, I'm just doing a tiny bit of this or a tiny bit of that, it's all going to add up together. So do it. Put it all together. I'm just going to get my blueberries in kind of like a little square up here at the top. If you want to take your time and place them carefully, so you've got the little rows, do that. That's fine. I'm going to add a couple. I got to get the right shape here. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. And then we're going to have our strawberries. Use the slicer. Use the slicer on the strawberries. So easy peasy. And then you're just going to want to go ahead and make your rows. Doesn't have to be fancy. We made the one in our picture look really fancy because it was for the picture. So we tried to really, get it just perfect. But I'm just going to layer these kind of on top of each other a little bit. So we've kind of got a little bit of coverage going that way. And then this was just 1 pound of strawberries. I just sliced them all. Just wanted to make sure I had enough. I'm going to have leftover. So you can use that for something else. You can combine it with the rest of the blueberries and make yourself a little fruit salad that can go along on the side. I think that would be a nice additional thing that you could bring. And then what we're going to do, which you can or you don't have to because you've got the white frosting here underneath, is we sprinkled in some unsweetened coconut. So some shredded coconut. Yeah, same kind of areas where you're going to get the regular baking coconut, but it's going to be unsweetened. So just make sure you look for that. Otherwise, there's a ton of sugar that they put on that sweetened coconut, and we're trying not to do that, right? We are trying not to do that. And if you're going to put the coconut on, I think it's easier to do it after you've already put the strawberries on. So you got kind of like little boundaries for yourself. So that's the easier way to do it. And this is actually not taking that long at all. I know I'm kind of going fast because we're doing it for class, but it's really not taking that long. This is pretty good. And I got to tell you, this was a winner. When we brought this back to the office and let some other people taste it, yeah, all thumbs up on this guy. So really good. slightly sweetened, not too much. So it's going to be a little bit of a treat, but it's not going to be overdone. I think you'll find people actually really like it. So here we go. American flag, patriotic, 4th of July, dun da da da, cake. All right. So I think we got through all of the recipes, Amber.
I know.
We're here to the end. And I've got my chicken over here. So my chicken is finally done. I had to let that sit in the pan for a little while I was decorating my cake. But that is all done. So we're going to put that on a plate. And so I think what we're going to do is go ahead and take our little break. And we'll come back and we'll show you everything that we did here as a final wrap up to the day. All right. Going to you, Amber.
Okay, everyone. We are near the end. Time for the reveal, right? Revealing everything there. There was something else I wanted to bring up. Any last 4th of July? I can't believe it's 4th of July, like right around the corner. It seems like it's every year. I always say this. It's like it comes too fast. I don't know. I need to make more plans, or I don't know. It's kind of crazy. I do love the 4th of July in Idaho, but if you have a dog, it is a little bit challenging. You know, my old guy, he likes to be locked in a room with the radio on and lots of fans. I go fans and radio and just blare out the most noise I can do. The hardest part is when we go to bed and then the fireworks are still happening and he starts barking a little bit, but at least it's not as crazy as when it's like all going at once. So anyway, let's see. Still feels like a blur's day to me. Yeah. Let's see. What was I going to say? Oh my gosh, my brain just went poof. Okay. So we are going to, some of you, talk about all the classes. So I know we have this cooking class the 3rd Wednesday of the month. We also have a virtual support group. Some of you that don't know that, maybe you've been to it, maybe you haven't. It's actually a great opportunity to listen in on experienced folks that have had surgery, some who haven't. We always have a topic. So, and of course, I know that we have a behavioral health specialist coming. I believe she's coming in August. And so July, I have them printed out in my office so that I can always talk about those in other classes. But hold on one second and I'll pull it up. So we've got our healthy living every other month. So that's the one I was telling you about, the gut health. And really focusing on fiber is kind of a revealing thing. You're like, wow, I did not realize that there is, like not as much fiber in certain things, and certain things you're like, oh, there's a lot of fiber in there. So it's really nice. Okay, support group topics. Let me just pull it up for July. I want to say it's a share-a-thon, but I'm not sure. Nope. Cart Smarts, your guide to a stress-free grocery run. That's the one we're going to be talking about, because man, grocery shopping can be kind of stressful. I mean, honestly, unless you're hanging out in the meat section and the dairy and the produce, you buy anything packaged and it's a little bit hard to navigate because the food makers out there are trying to confuse people. So it's a little frustrating, because especially like the juice and drink section, they'll be like, zero sugar added. Well, there's still fruit in the juice. So real fruit juice doesn't have any sugar added. So they just try to confuse people. It's 0 sugar that you need to have if you just have to have juice. All right, my dear, you're making too much noise back there. You're distracting me. Okay. I tell you guys to mute yourself, and here she is cleaning up a dish. All right. This is the reveal. We have 2 minutes.
All right. Yes, here I am. Okay, the final reveal for all of the dishes today. So number 1.
One sec.
Oh, sorry, 1 sec.
Yeah, you're not full screen now. You're
Oh, okay. All right, so the final reveal. We've got our jalapeno pepper dip. I put those cute little jalapeno slices on top. There she be. So you can just set that out. And then, of course, with our really awesome cheesy crackers that you can sort of see there. I'm going to dig on those here in a minute for sure. Got our little side salad, not potato salad, but it's going to taste like potato salad with all the eggs and celery and all the different flavors that go in there. So that one will probably be a pretty popular one. Then we've got our chicken. So I finished cooking that and then I brushed it with the rest of the marinade. So we got a nice little extra layer of flavor on there, a little punch, in addition to what it was already sitting in. And then, of course, the finale. The one that's going to make you look like a rock star, right? So you kind of can see it there, like that, like here. There we go. Woo! Oh, that's better. Got it. Yeah. American flag cake right there. All right, you guys. We made it. We did it. We got through all of it. A lot of good flavors today, and I think you'll really enjoy using some of these, especially if you are going to do something for the 4th. You've got some ideas if you want to mix it up a little bit and give some of these a try. All right, I'll send it back over to Amber to close us out for the day.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. 12 exactly. We did it. No problem, Alicia. That's all good. Gets a little choppy sometimes. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for listening and enjoying the time together. We wish you a happy 4th of July, and we'll see you all July 17th. Bye.